Okay guys, we are switching it up. My name is Seth. I'm a personal chef based in New York City, and most of my content so far has been my day in the life vlogs, which I love showing you guys. It's really so much fun to bring you along and show you my process. I get a lot of requests for recipes. To be completely transparent with you, most of the times, unless I'm baking something, I kind of just cook. And I think that that's the one thing I love most about food, is that you kind of learn to develop your own sense of style within cooking. So we have this gorgeous kitchen and we're gonna be using it to create a space where there's gonna be a little bit more recipe-based content for you. I would say that my most requested recipe is my focaccia. And I've posted it on my stories a few times, but today we are actually gonna make it together. So I'm really excited to create this new space for you and hopefully you get to see some of your creations as well. Okay, let's get started. So first we're gonna bloom our yeast. We're gonna wake up our yeast, gonna get it nice and bubbly and active, so that way when we feed it with the flour, we're gonna end up with a nice, beautiful dough. I'm going to start with 15 grams of our active dry yeast. And then we're gonna go in with the same amount, 15 grams of granulated sugar. This is gonna act as our food for the yeast. All right, and then last in this bowl, we're gonna add in 750 grams of warm water. When I say warm, I'm talking about like 110 degrees or so. I just like to use my hands and get in there. You can use a whisk if that's not your journey. Okay, so we're gonna let that hang out for 5-ish minutes. So after a few minutes, there will be a little bit of a head that forms on top. That's gonna be our indication that we know that we're ready to add it to our flour. So in the meantime, we're gonna measure our flour. So I'm going in with 800 grams of our bread flour. We're gonna add 200 grams of our regular all-purpose flour. Again, just take your hands and kind of mix it together. At this point, we're just waiting for our yeast to finish activating. Wait, you can see it's happening. I love this smell, like it's so good. So our yeast has been sitting. We have some activity on top. It smells amazing. Now, if you do this and you don't notice any activity from the yeast, there may be a few things wrong. One, your yeast may be expired. It happens. Sometimes it just falls behind and you use it and it's like one of those things you don't realize. 2, your water may be too cold where it did not activate the yeast. And 3, your water may be too hot where you killed the yeast. If that happens, try it again. Try using a thermometer. We're aiming for like that 110, 115 area. But now that we have that, we're going to just add our yeast mixture right to our flours. For me, I like to just like get my fingers in there, and I'm not really like cupping it. I'm kind of using it as like a comb. I kind of keep my fingers pretty wide just for this initial mix. It's going to be pretty shaggy. So we're just combining. We're not going to get a nice smooth dough yet. We're just really combining that water, yeast, and flour mixture until everything is nicely hydrated. You get to this point where it's kind of a ball. I'm not really using the comb method that I mentioned. I'm more so giving it a turn and squeezing, just to really make sure there aren't any more dry parts here. This dough will transform quite a bit over the next few hours. Okay, so I just cleaned my hands off. So we're gonna let this sit for about 45 minutes, but first we have some dry, crusty bits on the side. So I'm just gonna take this wet spatula and scrape up all the bits on the side. Okay, so towel is gonna go over. We're gonna let this flour hydrate, and we'll come back with the salt and the olive oil. In this first rise, and honestly for the other rises after that, we're gonna keep this in somewhat of a warmer area. Okay, so the dough has rested for about 45 minutes. We can see that the dough has already started to change shape. We're gonna add in our salt and our olive oil. So in that first 45 minutes, we're really giving the flour the opportunity to hydrate. We're also giving the yeast a little bit of a window to ferment and develop some better flavor, because the salt will prohibit that just a little bit. I like to just add the salt to the olive oil and mix this up with my finger here. Pour this over. Just want to go in and start to squeeze and twist. Every time I do this, I always think that my hand's like a KitchenAid, but just like on very slow motion. And it will separate a little bit before it comes back together. Okay, so I've been mixing for about 2 minutes now. The dough is starting to come back together. We're gonna put our towel back on, and we're gonna head back towards the oven and let this hang out for another 45 minutes. So our second 45-minute period after we added the salt and olive oil has passed. So I'm back again. This time I have a wet hand, so it really makes it a lot easier to handle the dough. It doesn't really stick to your hand. I'm kind of just pulling each side and folding it into the center. So we're gonna do this for 2 more hours. Same technique, same process. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to cover this with plastic, put it in the fridge, and keep it in the fridge overnight. Tomorrow, the next day, we're ready to bake. We're gonna transfer it to a sheet tray, we're gonna dimple it, top it with some olive oil and flaky salt, and we're ready to bake. Okay, so while that's resting, and because this is a professionally produced TV show and has real TV magic, we magically have this dough that was made yesterday that we're gonna bake off now because I just wanna show you. Okay, so I have a parchment lined sheet tray here. We put a little bit of olive oil down. I'm gonna punch this down just a little bit. Before we put this in the oven, I'm gonna let it rest for another 15 minutes or so, just so it can really fill up the pan. I have to kind of just like let it naturally take shape of the tray. You don't want to be too forceful, you just want to like let it do its thing. And we'll give this one more coating of our olive oil. I let this hang out for 15-20 minutes and then we'll come back. Okay, so it's been about 15 minutes that our focaccia has settled into the tray. It's a little thicker than what we started with. We can kind of press it and it bounces back. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our claws and give it some dimples. Okay, so now that that is looking gorgeous, we're gonna hit it with our flaky sea salt, season high, and cover it evenly. So at this point, we're ready to go into the oven. We're gonna bake it for about 30-35 minutes. This is my first time using this oven, so I'm not too sure what color we're gonna get from it, but let's try it out. Top. We're gonna take this out. Within about a minute or two of the bread coming out, I like to just take it out and transfer it to a cooling rack. This will keep the bread just a little bit crispier because we're allowing that steam to escape from underneath and it's not being trapped on the bottom, which will then turn into moisture. Okay, so butter is whipped here. We're gonna go ahead and scrape all this down. And then this, make a little bit of an indent, more flaky salt. And do a nice little chunk here. All right, here she is. I mean, what's not to love about this? You know, it's really just the simple things that are honestly the best. All right, so that's a wrap on episode 1, I guess. So I will be back next week, so make sure you follow along. Let me know what you want to see from posts I've made in the past, and I'll see you next week. Bye.